Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Sunday night, May 12, 2024. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap the notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section, letting me know what the weather has been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future weather in your specific area. Alright, so let us take a look at this post that we made recently on our Twitter page. Keep in mind that it wasn't only made on our Twitter page, but on our Instagram page at weather.jamaica, on our TikTok page at weather Jamaica, and on our Facebook page at weather Jamaica 876. And this post highlighted the fact that within the next 7 days we're definitely going to be affected by a hot spell that will be bringing up to at least 5 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures across the Jamaica area. We see all of these reds and orange colors that we can see by the key on the right. That represents up to at least 5 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures. And the thing about May, we usually receive like up to 31 degrees Celsius for our average temperature. So if we're going to be receiving up to 5 degrees Celsius above normal, it should be anywhere from 31 to at least 36 degrees Celsius. And the thing is, there is definitely a heat wave plaguing the region. If we even take a look at this tweet, they stated recently, well, according to Scott Duncan, he stated that Mexico just observed its hottest day in May, a brutal 51.1 degrees Celsius. This is less than 1 degree Celsius from the all-time national record for any month. And sadly, this heat wave is for her and we know how close Jamaica is to Mexico. Mexico is right here. Jamaica is right here a little bit to the east. So there's definitely a heat wave plaguing our neck of the woods. So, we have to take necessary precautions, try to stay hydrated, eat more fruits, watermelons, apples, oranges. Stay away from the caffeine as best as you possibly can, and try to stay out of the sun throughout the daytime as much as you possibly can. Try your best to beat the heat. Alright, so let us take a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening. We can still see that the entire Atlantic basin is still being dominated by that ridge of high pressure that we know is responsible for sending those easterly trade winds across the main development region from Africa. And with these easterly trade winds, we have some low-level clouds with some isolated shores, and we also have the dust from the Sahara Desert. We can also see a cold front right here, and at the tail end of the cold front, it has induced a trough of low pressure right there into portion of the northern Bahamas and into Florida. And if we take a look at the visible satellite images of the Atlantic before the sun went down, we can see the clouds associated with that cold front, and we can also see the low-level clouds being pushed from east to west, all courtesy of that easterly flow of trade wind brought about by the ridge of high pressure. We don't see much in the way of cloud cover at all across the Caribbean basin, very dry at this time, which explains the hot weather that we're definitely going to be experiencing over the next week. Alright, so we'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean weather later on. Let us focus our attention on the prediction that was made in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Sunday, May 12. It was stated that we would ever see some rainfall mainly across some central and western parishes in Jamaica during the afternoon. Central parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Middlesex, so St. Anne, St. Mary, Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine. While western parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall, so St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, and Trelawney. And if you remember yesterday's video, we highlighted the fact that most of that rainfall would be more so in the inland areas, so more so some southern areas of some northern parishes and some northern areas of some southern parishes, more so some inland areas. And what ended up happening, a post was made on our Twitter page, our Instagram page, our Facebook and TikTok page, highlighting the clouds, bringing some amount of overcast skies and isolated shores across sections of mainly Westmoreland, section of northern St. Elizabeth, section of southern St. James, southern Trelawney, northern Manchester, sections of northern Clarendon, southern St. Anne. So it was mainly confined to inland areas of some central and western parishes. And we even saw that being, displayed on the See Jamaica's YouTube channel. If you don't know by now, we have a partnership with that channel so that we can see what's happening across the corporate area. And we saw that it was a generally sunny day. As we look towards the south, we are looking towards the Norman Manley International Airport. It was indeed a sunny and hot day across the island. As it relates to the visible satellite images of Jamaica before the sun went down, we can see where we had that cloud cover. Definitely some isolated shore activity across sections of Westmoreland, sections of especially northern St. Elizabeth, southern Trelawney, sections of southern St. James as well. And we can also see that by the time the sun was going down, most of the clouds were clearing out, but we saw that we still had a buildup of clouds right there across sections of western St. Elizabeth, and we can see it all even better on the latest infrared satellite images. The latest infrared satellite images, as you can see, I just reloaded the page. We can even see some grays right there, even some sparkling white dots that represent some isolated thunder shower activity. So maybe just a brief thunder shower right there, and we can see all of that even better on the most recent Cuban Doppler radar images, showing those green and even some yellows in there that represent some lighter, moderate, even slightly heavy rainfall. Just a quick isolated shower or isolated thunder shower activity right there that I'm sure those areas are grateful for. As it relates to the temperatures right now, we can see that we have 28 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 27 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Monday, temperature should dip down to about 25 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 24 degrees Celsius in Kingston. As it relates to the temperature forecast for tomorrow, we already said it. I'm use black right here. We can see Jamaica right here, embedded in some oranges. Keep in mind that this map from the GFS is valid for 18th on Monday. When you calculate that, that's 1 p.m. on Monday. And the thing is, we've been experiencing the above normal temperature since last week. But it's going to be even hotter, especially considering that we're going to be experiencing more dry weather. So last week, yes, there was the heat, but some areas were experiencing some, isolated shore activity. But this week, it seems as if there's going to be an even more lack of the clouds and the rainfall, which is going to, make it even hotter than normal. You can see the temperatures right here, up to at least 4 to even 5 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures. Especially as we progress throughout the week, we're going to be getting in on some of those reds right there, but not as robust as what sections of Mexico was experiencing with all of those blacks that represent even up to 8 to even 9 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures or more. And we're grateful that we're not going to be receiving that at all. As it relates to the temperatures, we already stated it. We usually receive up to 89 degrees Fahrenheit for the month of May across Jamaica. And you calculate that, that's 31 degrees Celsius. So we should be receiving anywhere from 31 to 36 degrees Celsius at most for Jamaica's temperature on Monday. As it relates to the dry air map, we can still see that the dry air is plaguing sections of the Caribbean basin, including Jamaica, where we see those yellows. The dry air is represented by what we see on the key on the bottom, the yellows, the oranges, the reds, and the whites within those reds. And Jamaica is definitely going to be in for some month of dry air still plaguing our region. As it relates to the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Monday, you can see the browns represent the Saharan dust stretching all the way from Africa across the main development region into the Caribbean. But we're not seeing that vigorous plume of browns that we know represent that tremendous Saharan dust that can cause a lot of hazy skies or cause respiratory illnesses to be triggered in some people. We see the browns, but it's not that robust, and we're indeed grateful for that, because we look in the sky, we see more so in the way of blues than anything else. We don't see those milky whitish or hazy kind of sky looking color. We're indeed grateful that we're not getting in on all of that darker shade of brown like what we're seeing closer to Africa right here. As it relates to the wave forecast for tomorrow, we're still seeing a mixture of those lighter shades of blues and those darker shades of blues that we can see by the key on the bottom right. That represents anywhere from 0.5 for meter wave heights to 1.5 meter wave heights. And that's because the winds, thank goodness the winds are going to be a bit stronger tomorrow. We see more so in the way of those brighter greens that we know by the key on the bottom right. That represents anywhere from 10 to even 20 knot winds. And the general direction on both the north and the south coast is from the east, curving a bit towards the north by the southwestern portion of the island. But we also see that the air is going to be piling up across inland areas of some central and western parishes again. So we can rule out an isolated afternoon shower or two across the hilly inland areas of some central and western parishes. That's been the order of the week and the weekend. And with the upper level winds coming in from the west still, we can't rule out an isolated thunder shower activity or two across sections of some of those northern portions of some southern parishes and some southern portions of some northern parishes. Just like what the maps from today were showing, we saw those sparkling white dots across some inland areas of some central and western parishes. Just some brief isolated thunder shower. So it's possible that it could affect those areas again. But look at these maps. This map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are both showing something similar. And we see that the blues are right there across eastern Jamaica. So eastern Portland, eastern St. Thomas. You know the blues represent rainfall. So some isolated showers are in the forecast. What time is this? This is 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 8 a.m. Jamaica time. And we see that both the Euro and the GFS are in consensus with this. We'll see exactly what unfolds. We know that these maps are not set in stone, but the fact that both of them are showing something similar actually, increases the chances of happening. So let's look out at 8 a.m. for some isolated showers across sections of eastern St. Thomas and Portland. Then by afternoon now, this map from the GFS and this map from the Euro are both showing 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 3 p.m. Jamaica time. And where do we see the blues represent rainfall? Across the various spots that we just mentioned, across inland areas of some central and western parishes in Jamaica. And the thing is, both the Euro and the GFS models are in consensus with this. So sections of northern St. Andrew, northern St. Catherine, sections of southern Trelawney, southern St. James, sections of Westmoreland, northern St. Elizabeth and northern Manchester might get in on a brief isolated shower or two during Monday afternoon. And the fact that we're seeing consensus in both the supercomputer models is, telling that it's possible that it could happen. The accumulated precipitation forecast maps are showing that we're gonna be getting some slight rainfall somewhere across the island. Not robust at all. We're seeing more grays than anything else that represent little to no rainfall, but we'll take it. We're in the month of May. Although we started off the month of May with a bang with the rainfall, it's starting to die down a bit. I'm pretty sure that it's gonna be getting right back up by the time we're wrapping up the month of May in terms of the amount of rainfall that's expected. But right now in mid-May, I guess there's some kind of a break going on, especially considering that we started out wet. So I guess it's balancing out. So we started out wet in May, we're having a break now in mid-May. Then, if you even take a look at the long-range maps, they're showing that there's definitely some amount of rainfall that's gonna be wrapping up the month of May. So we'll take the dry period right now in preparation for the wet period before we head into the month of June. Alright, so that is it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So as stated, we have the clouds associated with the cold front. They'll bring some amount of rainfall to sections of the northern Bahamas associated with a trough that's attached to it. You can also see some activity taking place across the southern United States. They're still getting in on some thunderstorm activity. It's May, it's their tornado season. And we can also see the clouds associated with the ITCZ, that's the Intertropical Convergence Zone, reaching all the way from Africa into portions of northeastern South America. The ITCZ is where the trade winds meet the trade winds from the northern hemisphere meet the trade winds from the southern hemisphere. And then all of that air piles up and we have cloud cover and rainfall across those spots. And all of this pushes towards the west into northern South America. So sections of French Guyana, Suriname, Guyana, section of Venezuela, Colombia, Panama and Costa Rica usually get in on some amount of thunderstorm activity, and they're used to this. as it relates to the rainfall across the northeastern Caribbean, I'm sure that there's nothing to see here. They didn't get in on much rainfall at all. Don't see anything across Puerto Rico right now. Not much across the US or British Virgin Islands, but we do see some rainfall to the east of St. Kitts and Nevis, and some rainfall right there offshore Antigua and Barbuda. Some rainfall as well to the east of Guadeloupe. As it relates to the Barbados radar, we don't see much affecting Barbados right now, but we do see some isolated shower activity right there, heading into sections of that Martinique, if I'm not mistaken, and we don't see much taking place across Trinidad and Tobago at all. As it relates to the weather view of Doppler radar images, we can see that rainfall that we just mentioned affecting sections of Colombia, French Guyana right there, even sections of northwestern Venezuela. As it relates to the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is showing 18Z on Monday. When we calculate that, that's 1 p.m. on Monday. We see the Caribbean for the most part getting in on some yellows to oranges and up to even reds that represent way above normal temperatures. Eastern Caribbean getting in some average, as we can see by the grays. But as we head into the Western Caribbean, Central America, and the Gulf of Mexico, still getting in on that tremendous above normal temperatures. So I'm pretty sure that they're taking necessary precautions so that they're not that drastically affected. They're staying hydrated and they're staying out of the sun. As it relates to the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Monday, we can see the browns that represent the Saharan dust that should be stretching all the way from Africa across the main development region into the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. Sections of the Southern Caribbean definitely getting in on it, not to mention sections of Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, and French Guyana definitely getting in on some brows that represent some Saharan dust. Some slight hazy skies are definitely in the forecast. Some persons' asthma or sinusitis could be triggered. Jamaica and the Cayman Islands, not to mention Cuba and the Bahamas, not getting in on much though. As it relates to the wave forecast for tomorrow, we see that both the Euro and the GFS smalls are showing anywhere from those lighter shades of blues to those darker shades of blues that we know represent anywhere from 0.5 for meter wave height to 1.5 meter wave height, and that's because the winds for the most part should be averaging, let's say, anywhere from 10 to 15 to even 20 knots, as we can see by the greenish colors. Even some yellows in there that represent up to 25 knot winds. And we can see the general direction for these winds coming in from the east across the Caribbean, curving northward to the northwest across the Western Caribbean into the Gulf of Mexico. But let's get into the meat of the matter. Let's get into the rainfall forecast. Well, this is as dry as it gets, and both the Euro and the GFS modes are in consensus with this rainfall forecast. Look at that, the most rainfall is really expected across the south. So keep in mind that this map is showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Monday. Not saying that's going to be raining from now up all the way up until then, but these are the areas that are going to be picking up the most in the way of rainfall. So sections of the Dominican Republic, sections of Puerto Rico, sections of, let's say, Antigua and Barbuda, Guadeloupe, sections of Martinique, not to mention sections of St. Vincent and Barbados could be getting on some isolated shore activity. Sections of Suriname, French Guyana, just like what we just saw a while ago. Sections of southern and western Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica. Sections of southern or southwestern Honduras, El Salvador might get on some of the action. And the thing is, if we take a look at the Euro model, we're seeing much of the same areas that we saw on GFS being highlighted are the same areas that are going to be receiving rainfall. And we see the key on the right. It's not some tremendous rainfall, at least up to an inch of rainfall in most spots, but at least they're going to be getting rainfall, and I'm sure that they are all grateful as long as it's not some tremendous flood rainfall. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.